Hi, I'm Bill Powers. I'm an attorney in North Carolina, and I'm answering more questions that we find online. These are just people just like you that post things on public message boards, and they have questions. As I can, obviously, I tell you if you have more specific questions, talk to a lawyer, whether it's us or someone else. But this is we try to answer, or at least I try to answer questions where we see commonly coming up over and over and over in our courts. How can an officer charge me with a driving while license revoked? By the way, lawyers oftentimes refer to those as DWLR, driving while license revoked, when he did not even pull me over. Had a series of DUIs in the past, had been in trouble for 5 or 6 years, did not have legal tags on the vehicle. Someone at dispatch ran a tag. I came back to my car where it was parked. Wrote me a ticket for driving while license revoked for an impaired driving revocation, and they took the tag. Okay. First rule, don't drive around with illegal tags. That's probably the most obvious one. And I'm not trying to be a smarty-marty about that. I just am always amazed that people are surprised when they borrow the tags off of one car or another, or drive around without a tag, or indeed are speeding. They're like, well, how can an officer do that? They can. It's legal. Their job is to enforce the laws of the state of North Carolina, and if they see something that's open and notorious and obvious, they're allowed to check tags. In fact, there's some cars in North Carolina, if you've ever seen them, it's a patrol car, and they've got a series of things across the front of the car, sometimes on the hood, and they're cameras, okay? And they actually have a 360 view of all the vehicles around them. I've seen some in Durham most recently, and they're not cheap cars. I think they cost a lot for the law enforcement to get, but they can basically, in a 360 view, look at every tag with using computers and a digital basis of every car going by, irrespective of the speed, and just check the tags to see, is it valid, is it stolen, is that vehicle stolen, is the owner of that vehicle properly licensed. And these computers now, I mean, we all carry a big one in our hand, but they're not only ubiquitous, they're powerful and fast, and they've got databases that in real time can tell you, go get that car. Even if they didn't necessarily see you driving, I would say, well, maybe they did. Maybe you just don't know they saw you driving. The bigger question is, can they prove that you're operating a motor vehicle at a trial? But let's say they did not actually pull you over, but they did see you operate a motor vehicle. Now, years ago, I had a client, great guy, who, in a similar set of circumstances, had some trouble with the law, and for whatever reason, his license had been revoked. And he happened to live in the same neighborhood as as a law enforcement officer, small little jurisdiction. And he would drive to work, and he was a good, hard-working guy. And the police officer, watering his grass or playing with his kids in the front yard, would see him drive by, knows his face because he's a neighbor, had pulled him over several times before, and he would just go down and swear out warrants. And the answer to the question, or at least the inquiry here, is, can they do that? Absolutely. A law enforcement officer doesn't have to be wearing the badge at every second of the day. If they see a known criminal offense, they know the person to be revoked. And now, in this instance, they actually went back and checked and went to DMV and looked on his computer and in his car. They keep a car at home. And lo and behold, it was revoked. It's issued a citation. I had them mail it to you. So the answer is yes, they can. Okay. Now, there may be a dispute as to whether they actually saw you driving. All right. Now, I'm not saying that at 55 miles an hour and it's at nighttime and it's raining that a police officer sees the vehicle, goes by, looks at the tag and says on the computer, the person that owns that car is revoked, and just send you a ticket. No, they'd have to show that you were actually the person in operation. That's what we refer to as a prima facie or first fact. That's Latin, prima facie, first fact. At trial, and that's operate a motor vehicle, in this instance, while revoked. Now, another reason it's a good question is, what is driving while license revoked? Well, they relatively recently have changed the law, and we see this in North Carolina, and this is a pretty complicated area. So If you're watching this video sometime in the future, the law may have changed. But right now, as I'm shooting it today, there are, generally speaking, two types of driving while license revoked. There's a driving while license revoked. It's related more to non-payment of a ticket, a failure to appear, a failure to comply, maybe having too many tickets, having some sort of administrative revocation or suspension for going too fast or having too many tickets in a time period, something like that. That's one type of driving while license revoked that, while serious and while may cost you a lot of money and end up having additional periods of revocation or suspension, that's different than a driving while license revoked impaired revocation, which is something they've added most recently, which is a higher, more enhanced level of punishment. And that one you're actually looking at possibly going to jail because judges don't like it, nor do prosecutors, when you're driving around on a revoked license and the reason the license is revoked is because you had a DWI. That's serious. And so that one is, I think both of them make sense to talk to a lawyer, but that one especially because you're not just looking at losing your license for an additional period of time, you're losing your liberty, possibly your job if you're sitting in a jail. So yes, they can issue citations, even though they don't necessarily pull you over. That doesn't mean that they can prove it in court. It would be smart not to conflate the two, that yes, they can issue the citation, but that doesn't mean they can prove it. Third, does it make sense to retain a lawyer? Yes, especially if it's an impaired revocation. And even if you were eligible for reinstatement, there are times that there are glitches in the system. Maybe the assessing agency mailed off your compliance of the alcohol assessment treatment, but DMV didn't recognize that, and maybe your license wasn't properly revoked at the time. So there are a lot of little things that we like to check off or go through and say, operation, was it actually suspended? Was it eligible for reinstatement? What are the nature and the circumstances of the offense itself? We offer a free consultation. That's what we do. We help people. 704-342-HELP. If you have questions about your license, license revocation, license suspension, reinstatement, are you eligible for reinstatement? Are you eligible for limited privilege? Give us a call. We don't charge anything to talk to you about these kind of cases, and we keep everything confidential. And if we can help you out, we'll let you know. 704-342-HELP. Hope to hear from you.